There are three types for IP address version 6, and something we notice here is that we have unicast and we have multicast, and we don't have broadcast. We have something called anycast. IP address version 6 deals with broadcast as a special case of multicast. It does not have a separate broadcast address as we will see later. Instead, it has multicast to all devices, which essentially corresponds to broadcast. So the third type of transmission for IP address version 6 is what we call anycast. For anycast, the source can send to any of these destinations using an anycast address, and in that case, this can be used, for example, if a source node wants to send packets to any printer on the network, such as this printer is the closest to it, for example. So in that case, it uses an anycast address to request printing something on any printer on the network, and in that case, the router will have to check which printer is the closest and send the package to it. Again, the anycast is not part of our course here, and therefore we will not discuss it any further. So in IP address version 6, we only have unicast and multicast, and then in multicast we have multicast to all groups, which essentially corresponds to broadcast. Similar to IP address version 4, IP address version 6 also divides the address into two parts. The network part here is called prefix part. So in the prefix part, we have the 64 bits that correspond to network or the prefix, and then we have an interface ID part, not a host part here, because IP address version 6 again promotes the fact that a host may have actually different or multiple IP addresses. So one host may have multiple IP addresses depending on the interface. So you may have wireless, you may have wired, you may have Bluetooth, and in each one you have a different IP address. So in that case, you have an IP address for each interface ID. Typically, the prefix length is 64, which means that IP address version 6 uses a typical prefix of /64, which divides the address into two equal parts. One part is the prefix 64 bits, and the other part is the interface ID, again 64 bits. There are six, again, similar to IP address version 4. Here we have 6 different types of IP address version 6. We have the first one is the global unicast, and the word global here is very important because this unicast address is a unique unicast address that can flow over the public internet, and it gets actually forwarded by all routers on the internet. So this is the unique address that each interface has. There's also what we call link local addresses. The link local address is actually assigned only on a link, so it has only significance on one particular link. So, which means that the local router will not forward this IP address further. So the link local IP address does not get forwarded by a router. So in that case, it has a significance only on one link or one local area network. We have the loopback, which is again similar to IP address version 6, and in that case, the loopback address is only colon 1, which is only one single address, and it's /128. So it's colon 1 /128, and it's one single IP address, not similar to IP address version 4, where it has 127 dot anything. So there are multiple loopback addresses. Here we have only one address to represent loopback in the case of IP address version 6. There's also the unspecified address, and the unspecified address here is actually only one address as well, and it's colon /128. So it's all zeros basically, and all zeros here indicates unspecified address, and this unspecified address can only be used as a source address, not as a destination. If a host or an interface uses this address, this means that the source address is it doesn't mean anything to the destination, so it's unspecified, or it's like anonymous IP address. There's also the unique local, and again, the word global and local here we have to pay attention to. The unique local IP address here, it has some similarity to the private IP address. So again, it can be used for communication within one LAN or group of LANs. It's similar to the private IP addresses, except that unique local addresses, they don't get translated, like in the case of IP address version 4, where the private IP address gets translated into a public IP address for transmission over the internet. The unique local IP address is actually suppressed, or it's stopped at the router level, and it does not get routed further. And the range of unique local IP address is actually FC00::/7 and FD all the way to FDFF/7, which means that you have a range of network. Again, C here is 00, 1100, and F here is 1111, or D, which is D here is 1101. So anything 1111. So anything that starts with this or this allocated as, or will be assigned as a unique local IP address version 6, which again is used to represent sort of a private IP address. And finally, we have what we call embedded IP address, which is used for communication between version 4 and version 6, and this is beyond the scope of our course here, so we'll not talk about that part. All right, so first we will explain the link local IP address range, and that category of IP address is used again to communicate within the local area network, and it does not, and it's not used to communicate to the internet. And this range of IP address starts always with FE80/10. So the range or the class of IP addresses in this category starts with FE80 and then /10. So anything that starts with FE and 810 here is here. So 8 is actually 1000. Sorry, 1000. So 8 actually belong to this, and 1001, which is D, is also part of this, and 1010 and 1011. All these are part of this category of linked local IP addresses, and this will be used for communication within the local area network. So for example, this network here used the linked local IP address that starts with FE80 and then A's, B's, C's, and D's. The router will then suppress any packets that come from this network using these IP addresses. So in that case, these IP addresses are not routed further by the router. Okay, so this exercise here identify the types of IP addresses. So unique internet IP address version 6, dynamic or static. So this is actually the global unicast. IP address version 6 represented as 001. So this is a loop back, of course. And the IP address version 6 address represented as 00. So this is the unspecified. And then the typical IP address version 6 prefix used to indicate the network portion. So this is actually the /20/64. and then it's used to communicate with the other devices on the internet. This is the other devices on the same IP address subnet. This is the link local IP address.